The road to recession in the United States looks like it's becoming more and more evident with Donald Trump announcing on April 2nd, which he dubbed Liberation Day, for whatever reason. Maybe it's because he's liberating Americans of their hard-earned retirement savings, or having people pay import taxes, which are he thinks other countries are going to somehow foot the bill for. But anywho, he says that there will be a universal, at minimum, 10% import tariff on all goods coming into the United States. With depending on the country, that rate can be as high as I've seen, like 30 to 50%. Such as like China, he's putting a 34% tariff on Chinese imported goods, which is crazy because there is so much stuff that we use in our everyday lives that comes from China. South Korea, 26%, and the list goes on and on and on. He's putting tariffs on our neighbors to the north and south. And even if this is all a bluff to get people to come to some sort of negotiation table, which it seems like he has no clue whatsoever on like what he's even negotiating on at all. The disdain for America amongst our allies and our enemies is becoming worse and worse and worse. And it seems like it's almost intentional on what he's doing to destroy the U.S. economy. I mean, I lost $3,000 in my retirement in the past week, and I've heard other people say they've lost much more, or even however much the loss is. We work hard to put money away for retirement, and the fact that a president who is incompetent, who doesn't know what he's doing, who puts people in positions of power that have no business being in those positions, like RFK, like the woman who is the wife of the guy who runs the worldwide wrestling company or whatever, and all these other just sycophants, people who are yes men and yes women, who are unable to speak out or come up with any kind of thought whatsoever that might not be in line in what their dear leader wants them to believe or say or do. And this is the problem with the Trump administration, more so than anything else, is that he is surrounded by yes men and yes women who don't try to tell him, like, hey man, like that's probably not a good idea. Anyone who speaks out against him is then attacked, whether it be for speaking out against a specific policy, or there's personal attacks, or there's a threat of a primary. And this has caused a lot of the Republicans to basically just toe the line of whatever their dear leader says. And we're seeing like the United States economy is going into a recession. I don't even think it's up in the air anymore. I mean, with the Dow Jones losing 5.5% in a day, the NASDAQ losing 5.8% in a day, S&P 500 down like 6% in one day's time. I mean, on Monday, I'm scared to even see what happens, because it's probably going to fall even more, because this guy was handed a golden goose like most Republicans throughout my lifetime. I mean, if you look at Clinton, handed Bush like a $400 billion surplus. He put two wars, and then Bush put two wars on a credit card, and then cut taxes for the rich. And then he gave Obama a recession and a 1.8 or 1.7 trillion dollar deficit, which Obama completely turned that around and got the deficit down to, I think he handed Trump a deficit of around like maybe 300 to 400 billion a year, but it was much less than when he had when he came into office or whatever. And then same with Obama, giving a booming economy to Donald Trump. And then Trump mishandles the COVID pandemic, causes another recession. Then Biden has to get it back on track. It's just, it's almost like you can set a clock to how like certain these kinds of actions, or like these kinds of events are when it comes to Republican versus Democratic presidents. Like in my lifetime, we've had multiple recessions. I'm only 32 years old. Both times it's been under Republican administrations. Both times. But then the Republicans are like, oh, we're so for cutting. We're the party of responsible government. We're so for making sure the government's running efficiently. Even though he fires tons of inspector generals who've actually went after fraud and abuse within our government. But then he fires them, and he puts in people like Elon Musk, who's like, oh yeah, we found all these billions, oh, we're saving all these money, jumping up and down like a freaking like wild banshee, but has no proof whatsoever of finding any kind of fraud. Nothing. But his Trump supporters are so brainwashed by Fox News, and I've been seeing lately that even Fox News is having trouble defending the Trump administration and Elon Musk. They even took the stock tickers off of the bottom of their screen because they don't want to show the maggots or whatever that this guy's actually crashing our economy again. That sweet, green like growth you're seeing in your 401k, that shit's over with. That's done. Trump's destroying that for all of us. I go to work I go to work like anyone else. I work hard and I save my money and I live within my means, and I hope to save enough for retirement that I can retire, by the time I'm like, I don't know, 55 or 60. And then, but Trump and the Republicans are making that increasingly difficult for the average everyday working person. And I hope that the Republicans in the House and the Senate have some sort of backbone to actually do something, because in the midterms, you're going to see ruby red districts flip blue. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen, because it's one thing to attack made up issues like transgendered people in bathrooms, like, ooh, they're the boogeyman, but it's another thing to destroy someone's 401k. Doesn't matter if you're blue or red. If you're intentionally doing stuff that causes people to lose money and have to pay astronomically more for everyday basic goods. I mean, I know inflation was high in the United States over the past couple of years under Biden, but it was like that throughout the entire world. And if you look at the United States as a benchmark, we've actually done a lot better when we were under the Biden administration for curbing inflations compared to other countries. But Americans are so uninformed. They don't know. They just don't know. And that's the problem. People, they see what's in front of them and they don't want to look at the big picture. And that's how people like Donald Trump are elected. And that's all I really got to say. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, like, comment. Have a nice day.